So for those of you who are on the line, if you are on YouTube, I had to end that stream because it would not let me edit to change the camera. So if you get out of YouTube and go back in, there should be another date or the same date, and we're streaming live now.
I already did.
Good morning, this is Sean.
Good morning, Sean. You ready to go?
I am.
All right. Good morning, board members. This is Keith Johnson, the county administrator. In as much as it is our organizational meeting for the year, I'll start us off just to get us going. We have all three board members present. I want to welcome our newest commissioner, Rocky Mullen, for his first board meeting. It's appropriate at this time that we begin with a pledge of allegiance, and then we will immediately go into commissioner assignments for 2021. So, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. With that, the first item on the agenda for the board's consideration this morning is board assignments for 2021. Obviously, the first and most important one would be the selection of a chairman of the board for 2021. After which, once that selection is done, then he can take over the gavel and we can go down the rest of the agenda if that's okay.
Sounds good to me, Mr. Johnson. With the indulgence of the board, I'd like to provide a little bit of background information from the statutes so that everybody has a clear picture of the roles, responsibilities of the chairman. Is there any objection to that? Okay, not hearing any objections. RCW 36.32.100 speaks to the chair of the board in election and powers. The chair is elected by the three-member board. There's nothing in the statute that speaks to the criteria for selecting a chair, whether it be experience or rotational schedule or any other means. The statute appears to be silent on that point. It does make clear that the chair presides over the meetings of the Board of Commissioners, and that the chair shall sign all documents requiring the signature of the board. To be clear, historically, all three commissioners have signed our resolutions, but in fact, that's not necessary. Chair's signature, so long as there is a record of the vote, and so long as the chair's signature is consistent with that vote, then the chair is the only one that has to sign the documents. And that might be a beneficial practice starting this year for our staff, not to have to chase down three commissioners for signatures when resolutions have to be redone. If the chair is unavailable, then the other two commissioners sign the documents. There's no authority for the chair other than the ministerial, meaning administrative duties of running the meeting. There's no additional vote. There's no additional authority. In fact, under Robert's rules, it could be reasonably construed that the chair is actually in a deferential position to the balance of the board. And then I would, I guess the only other thing I would add is historically, we have not done rotations. I'm looking at 2017, Bob Cook was the chair. 18, Brad Peck was the chair. 19, Bob Cook was the chair. 20, Bob Cook was the chair. So Bob Cook was the chair 3 out of the last 4 years. So if this is a rotation, then in the third year, 2021, Brad Peck would be chair. If this is based on who we think is best qualified to serve the interests of the county, then we each use our own discretion to make that vote and that choice. Not lobbying for the position, just wanted to give people perspective on what is in the statute, what is not, and what the role is of the chair, and especially the fact that it conveys no authority beyond that of the other commissioners. So thanks for that opportunity.
Commissioner Didier or Commissioner Mullen, is there additional input that you would like to provide?
This is Commissioner Didier. Just want to state the fact that District 3 has not been chair for as many years as Commissioner Peck has just mentioned, and therefore I would like to see every commission, every district have the opportunity to utilize the chairmanship. So I would like to see my name on the chairmanship if possible.
So, Mr. Johnson, I paused to ensure that Commissioner Mullen had an opportunity to comment. I'm not hearing any comments, so I would remind that we are elected by districts, but once elected, you have a duty to serve countywide, and there should be no distinction in a commissioner's service based on what district he or she may be from. To suggest that a particular district should have the chairmanship on some schedule is inconsistent with the statutes that require us to serve all citizens' interests equally countywide. I'm not particularly concerned about who serves as chair as long as there's a very clear understanding that it conveys no authority other than administrative duties to run the meetings and to do so fairly and I believe consistent with Robert's Rules of Order, which can be complex. But I would also say that if we're going to use a fairness measure of rotation, then I deferred to Commissioner Cook a number of years based on the fact that he had more years experience serving the county. Did that out of courtesy, respect. So 18, 19, 20, 21 by rotation would make me the chair. So I'll submit my name for consideration and we'll allow Mr. Mullen to cast the tie-breaking vote.
Just as a point of order, would one of you care to characterize your statement as a motion? Just for the record.
Well, I don't know that a motion, Mr. Johnson, is necessarily the vehicle. We could certainly open a discussion for nominations, and you could do that for us and note that Commissioner Didier and Commissioner Peck have both self-nominated. I think that would be appropriate.
Yeah, I'm not aware of a resolution requirement, so. Sounds like we have a nomination for Mr. Didier and one for Mr. Peck. So, Mr. Mullen, do you have you're the deciding vote on your first vote for the board.
I would nominate Clint Didier for chairman of the board.
Okay, so it appears that there's a consensus of a majority of the board supporting Commissioner Didier. I guess without any further objection, that will be reflected in the record for 2021.
Thank you, Rocky and Keith, for that nomination of the board. I would then entertain a motion for chair pro term at this point in time.
Mr. Chairman, I would nominate Mr. Mullen as chair pro tem.
I'll second that. All right. Now we're going to move on down the list here. We've got assignments for...
Chairman, point of order.
Yes, sir.
I believe now that we're a constituted body, we have to vote on these matters, and so there was a motion and a second. If we could get an all in favor and make it a legal vote for Mr. Mullen, I'd appreciate it.
Well, we had 2 yes votes. You and I had. That's a majority, so I took that as granted, but I'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So we have a unanimous choice. We'll move down to the next order of business, which is all the appointments for this year's Board of Commissioners responsibilities. And we have 2 open spots that are open. I have went through and reviewed the list, and of the current local responsibilities, Rocky has 15 appointments, I have 15 appointments, and Commissioner Peck has 7. If we move further down the list to the appointments made by other organizations, these are you have to apply for these, and therefore you have to be in order to be appointed to them, which is, again, responsibilities to the county, but these are areas where you are volunteering. And so I think the local is as important, if not more important, than those that are appointed. And I would like to see those other 2 spots filled up. I believe I'm pretty current with everything that I had previous. With 15 appointments, I feel like my agenda is pretty well full. I was wondering if either of the other commissioners would be willing to volunteer for those 2 open spots.
Commissioner Didier, I'd like to start out by pointing out that all of these committee assignments are up for review, and we need to go through those and affirm each one. There is no proposed list or legal list of who's in which positions, and if there is, then I'd like to know by what vehicle, because it would most certainly have to be an illegal meeting at some point prior. So, having said that, I also want to speak to the appointments made by other organizations to suggest that the positions on the Council of Governments or the Washington State Association of Counties Legislative Steering Committee or the Risk Pool or the State County Road Administration Board, to suggest that any of those are not co-equal or, in fact, more impactful than a local committee demonstrates an unfamiliarity with the roles and responsibilities of those committee assignments. The fact that commissioners are able to serve on these statewide positions is hugely beneficial to the county's interest. And I would note that some of these are unanimous elections by commissioners from all 39 counties across the state. So I would ask that we not treat those in a dismissive manner. They count as much or more than every other appointment on this list.
Well, we all filled out where we would like to serve. We have all been handed a paper with our initials by these responsibilities of these different boards, and I'm sure you had time to review them. There are 2 open spots at this time. If you would like, we could have the administrator go through the list and tell where people have been placed, which is probably the best avenue. Keith, would you mind doing that?
With the understanding that if a commissioner has a concern, they can object at that time. I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
So starting immediately following the board, county administrator, current is myself, Keith Johnson. Fire marshal responsibilities with the sheriff's office. The public records officer, again, myself. Our risk manager is Jennifer Johnson in the prosecuting attorney's office. Benton County Emergency Services, myself, currently serving as vice chairman of that organization. The Benton Franklin Board of Health has 3 seats. Currently Brad Peck, Clint Didier. It's proposed that Rocky be added to that. Benton Franklin Community Health Alliance, Commissioner Didier is the current representative, and he has requested he remain in that assignment. The Benton Franklin Council of Governments Boards, Commissioner Peck.
Mr. Johnson, I would ask you to pause there, please, and I will speak to this one. The current chair of the Council of Governments has requested that I remain on that board. I'm currently the vice chairman of that Council of Governments after having served on the executive board. And I would note that that particular assignment also has additional committee responsibilities in the appointments by other organizations. Franklin County serves on the Ben Franklin Council of Governments Credit Committee, the SEDS Committee, and the RRLF Loan Advisory Committee. So if someone should want to take that COG assignment, it comes with the other 3, not just sitting on the board of the COG. And then I would note that Commissioner Cook and myself both served on the board of the Council of Governments. Commissioner Cook placed there in a seat from Ben Franklin Transit, and myself in a seat representing Franklin County. That has been a tremendous benefit to the county to have 2 voting members on that COG board. The suggestion that someone else serve on the COG board in my stead, in my place this year, changes that and leaves us with only 1 vote. Now, I'm not on the Transportation Ben Franklin Transit Board. I believe Commissioner Didier and Commissioner Cook were, and I expect Commissioner Mullen will be. That offers an opportunity for those gentlemen to serve on the COG board and for me to stay in the COG board, giving us those 2 votes. That seems to clearly be in the best interest of Franklin County. If a majority of the board sees it differently, then so be it. But you need to understand the background and the fact that we'd be cutting Franklin County's voting power in half by making a change there.
And if I may, Commissioners, I did receive a copy of a letter from the chairman of that COG board requesting that Commissioner Peck continue in that capacity, recognizing that Commissioner Cook had been serving as a member of the Transit Board. And I just wanted to reflect for the record that we had received that communication from them.
And to be clear, I was not aware of that.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
I was just saying I wasn't aware that you had received a correspondence from anybody at COG. They called and asked if I was willing, and I said absolutely, and they expressed that they wanted me to stay on the board. I wasn't aware they'd sent correspondence.
I just received it this morning, right before the meeting.
Okay.
So Keith, this is Chairman Didier. Is that Bob Cook served on that board as a member of Ben Franklin Transit because he was chair, or just a member of Ben Franklin Transit?
I believe just because he was a member of Ben Franklin Transit.
That is correct.
Okay. Well, I would be fine with that then, as a member of Ben Franklin Transit, to also attend COG.
Okay, then I take that we'll leave me on the COG board.
Okay.
So then the next one would be the Transit Board of Directors. Commissioner Didier has been serving with Commissioner Cook, but now that Mr. Mullen is here, I presume Commissioner Didier and Commissioner Mullen will take those 2 seats.
Okay.
Then the next one is related to the Council of Governments. It's the Urban Surface Transportation Program Steering Committee. Currently been Commissioner Peck. And I presume now that we had that discussion, he'll remain in that assignment. The BIPIN, the Bi-County Police Information Network, Kevin Scott, our IS director, has been representing us in that capacity. They're undergoing a major software upgrade and systems improvement. I would recommend that we continue to have Mr. Scott represent us there. The Columbia River Commissioners Policy Advisory Group, it has been served by Commissioner Didier, and it looks like either Commissioner Didier or Commissioner Mullen may want to take that assignment.
It has me down. I'll take that assignment.
Then the next one, Eastern Washington Council of Governments, Commissioner Didier, currently serving, and looks like you're proposing that you continue in that assignment.
Yes, yes, I am.
Then the Emergency Management Board for Franklin County, Commissioner Peck has been serving in that role. Appears that Commissioner Mullen has offered to take that assignment.
Yes, I have. And I'm perfectly fine with that. I think as the new commissioner, that's an excellent opportunity to get up to speed on a lot of the emergency management identified risks to our community and get started on the training that goes with that. So I appreciate Commissioner Mullen picking that up.
Then the next one is the emergency training with the Department of Energy and Energy Northwest. Commissioner Peck and Commissioner Didier have both been serving on that group. It's presumed we will add Commissioner Mullen.
And I would just add quickly that the training for that is not particularly extensive, but it is critical. Having worked out there for several years, I can tell you if there's a major accident or incident at that nuclear plant, being the county most likely downwind, we are going to have a huge role to play. And while I think the plant is safe and the chances of a major incident are very extremely low, we still have to be prepared, and I'd encourage all of us to get up to speed on that. I perhaps have an advantage having worked there, but I just want to emphasize that that's a lot more important than it might appear on a list. Thank you.
And the next one is the Franklin County Fair Housing Coordinator. Commissioner Didier has been serving in that capacity and would like to continue.
Yes.
The Franklin County Law and Justice Council, Commissioner Peck has been serving in there and wishes to continue. The Franklin County Local Emergency Planning Committee does not look like we've had someone in there currently. Commissioner Mullen has been proffered as a proposed member of that group.
Yeah, it doesn't appear that group has been active much in recent years, but perhaps Mr. Mullen can stir them to action.
The next one is the Franklin County Safety Security Committee. Commissioner Didier has been serving in that capacity and wishes to continue.
Yes.
The next one is the Good Roads and Transportation Association of Benton, Franklin, and Walla Walla counties. Commissioner Peck has been serving there and I believe wishes to continue, both for that one and the Good Roads and Transportation Association for the state. No?
We have Rocky Mullen down as the Good Roads and Transportation Association, Benton, Franklin, Walla Walla.
And then Commissioner Peck for the state.
So, Keith, there's really, there's two of them there. One is the local and one is the state level. And Mr. Mullen expressed interest in the local one. I've served on it for a while. I'm pretty well up to speed on what they're doing, and I think it would be a useful one for an incoming commissioner to serve on it. It'll help give a good perspective on local roads and priorities among the various counties. So I don't have any objection to him serving on that. I'm willing to step aside.
And then
And I'll keep the Washington State one.
okay, very good. Then the Greater Columbia Behavioral Health Board is vacant.
I'm willing to serve on that one.
Is that Rocky?
No, it's
Oh, is that
Commissioner
Brad?
Peck.
Okay. The Hanford Area Economic Investment Fund Advisory Committee. Commissioner Mullen, is that going to be your assignment?
Yes.
So I would just note, I spoke with Skip Novakovich, who's the chair of the Port of Pasco, but he's also the chair of the HAFIC committee. And he asked to have Mr. Mullen serve on that. It still has to go to the state and be approved there, but I think that's a great opportunity to serve, and I support it.
Very good. Then I have Commissioner Didier for the next 4 items: the Hanford Communities Governing Board, the Hanford Communities Administrative Board, the Juvenile Justice Advisory Board, and the Law Library Board of Benton and Franklin.
Yep.
Okay.
So while I don't object to any of those, I will note that I have served on them, at least 4 of the 5. The Hanford Communities Governing Board, the Administrative Board, and the Law Library are ones that have had minimal activity or impact on Franklin County, and not necessarily for this year, but for the future. Those are some that we may want to look at whether or not that's time well spent, and whether there's other committees that we might want to replace them with, simply because the activity level has been so low. The Juvenile Justice Advisory Board hasn't been particularly active, but that's one that I think we do need to keep. So just an observation for someone who's been doing this for a while and is seeing that some of these committees maybe aren't the best use of the 3 commissioners' time.
Well, I've been attending the law library boards, and we just went through budget. That's an every month meeting. Hanford Communities Governing Board, I've been attending those telephonically, and they're all seem to have importance. As far as me being there, they're very appreciative of the fact that I'm showing up to attend these meetings. So I disagree that they are active boards, and I'm participating in them in the last 2 years.
Okay, well, I respect your view. I've served on them for years as well, and we can just have a different view on that. Not a problem.
The next one will be the Left One Disability Board, Law Enforcement Officers Disability Board. I believe Commissioner Cook had been serving in that role. It's proposed that Commissioner Mullen take that assignment.
Yes, I'd be happy to serve on that board.
Then the next one is the Metro Drug Task Force Executive Board. Commissioner Didier has been serving there. Proposed that he stay. No?
Actually, I think that one has my name on
Yeah.
it.
My memo is a couple of days dated. I apologize for that. Karen's giving me a current one here. And then the Solid Waste Advisory Committee, also Commissioner Mullen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The Southeast Washington Aging and Long-Term Council of Governments. I believe that was Commissioner Cook. So Commissioner Mullen, you're taking that one?
I will if no one else wants to serve on that one. I will.
Excuse me, Chair whomever does the Southeast Washington Aging and the Greater Columbia Behavioral Health, they meet in the same, well, Zoom now, at the same time. And as soon as the Greater Columbia Behavioral Health meeting is over, then they go into the Southeast Washington Aging. So those might be items that you want to keep together.
So, Ms. Millam, I appreciate your input, but I think you might be a bit of ahead of your headlights here. I'm unwilling to serve on the Southeast Washington Aging. I opposed our joining that activity in the first place for reasons that we should not and don't have time to go into here now. But the mere fact of geographical co-location of meetings is not a reason for the same person to serve on both. And I'm not willing to serve on that aging a long-term one. So thanks for the input, but no thanks.
Okay, then the next one is the Tri-City River Shore Enhancement Council. Commissioner Peck has been serving there and it looks like he would like to continue. The next one is TriDec. Commissioner Mullen, that be your assignment?
Yes, it is.
Okay. The Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce as well.
Correct.
The United Way Local Emergency Food and Shelter Program, EFSP as well.
Yes. Like I said, unless somebody else, wants to serve on that board.
You're getting all the plum assignments. I will just say that.
Well, Keith, now that you've said that, I would weigh in and offer that other people may have suggested this, but I have always supported the notion that new commissioners coming in, if possible, should serve on the chambers and the TriDec committees because they're such excellent opportunities to build a network of contacts, which is a big part of what makes commissioners effective. And I'm appreciative that Commissioner Mullen's willing to serve on those. If there's concern about the local emergency food and shelter program and Commissioner Mullen doesn't want to do it, then I would pick it up, but I'm not asking for it. Just volunteering if he doesn't want it.
And Commissioner Mullen for Visit Tri-Cities and the Washington County's Risk Pool. Nope, the Risk Pool I have Commissioner Peck.
Yes, that's the same as on my list as
All
well.
right.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then the Workforce Development Council Board, Commissioner Didier.
Yep.
I want to go back just to reaffirm on the Southeast Washington Aging and Long-Term Council of Governments. That will be Commissioner Mullen.
Yes, I'm fine with that unless there's some reason that we did not want to be a part of it. I don't understand or
For the moment, we can take the assignment and then the board can decide if they no longer wish to participate at a future meeting. The appointments made by other organizations then, starting with the Benton Franklin Council of Governments Credit Committee and the Council of Governments Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy or CEDS Committee and the Regional Revolving Loan Advisory Committee. Those are all associated with the Benton Franklin Council of Governments. Presume Commissioner Peck will retain those three.
Right. These, Keith, as you pointed out, these are appointments by outside agencies. So really, I think the only question is whether or not anybody is unwilling to serve in these positions. I'm willing to serve in all the ones that I've been appointed to.
Very good. Then just to list those last ones out, the Benton Franklin Transit Operations and Maintenance Committee would be Commissioner Didier, the Benton Franklin Board of Health Budget Committee, myself, Columbia Basin Development League, Commissioner Peck, Pasco Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors, Commissioner Mullen, and then the Washington State County Road Advisory Board, or CRAB, and the Washington County's Risk Pool Underwriting Committee, the WASAC Legislative Steering Committee, and the Washington Historic Preservation Grant Committee, all by Commissioner Peck.
And Keith, I don't know that we need to add it to the list, but I'll also be serving as the vice chair of the Benton Franklin Board of Health.
Very good.
Each year, the chair rotates between the two counties. This year, Benton County has the chair and Franklin County has the vice chair, and so I'll be serving as vice chair.
Very good. So with that list, Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend that you entertain a motion to approve those.
I ask for a motion to approve the list.
Yep, so moved.
We got a motion do we have a second?
I'll second that, Commissioner Mullen here.
We got a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Passes unanimously. Okay. Next on our agenda is the assessor update. Pete, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Please present.
Okay. First of all, let me thank all you gentlemen for your time and the county administrator as well. I appreciate the opportunity. I have a letter that I'd like to read to you today, and it's dated January 5th, 2021. Again, for the record, my name is Peter McInder from the Franklin County Assessor. Letter starts, Franklin County Commissioners. I've been working for Franklin County for 21 and a half years. Over the years, I've made progression from a residential appraiser to chief appraiser for 15 years, and now for the past 2 years as the elected assessor. I have given much of my time, energy, and my skills as an appraiser and office leader while working in the assessor's office. With the opportunities that have been part of my positions, I have grown personally and professionally during my employment with Franklin County. I am grateful to the citizens of Franklin County for allowing me to serve them in all capacities within the assessor's office. I truly appreciate all that has been provided from Franklin County for my family and I. Therefore, after much reflection and deliberation, I am informing you of my resignation as the Franklin County Assessor effective January 31st of 2021. I fully understand the term of my office runs through December 31st of 2022, and it was my intent to fulfill this obligation. However, due to the extensive demands of the office, lack of resources, and the current political climate in Franklin County, I no longer feel I can complete the remainder of my term to the best of my abilities. It is my intent to complete the levy calculation process in order to provide the treasurer the 2021 tax roll. I will assist with a smooth transition when the new assessor has been selected, as well as perform the duties of the assessor until my departure. I will not be able to provide any assistance after January 31st of 2021, as I will be beginning a new chapter in my life. Respectfully, Peter J. McInderfer. And I've provided a copy of this to the Administrator Keith Johnson, as well as a copy for each one of you gentlemen as well. Appreciate your time, and I thank you for the opportunity to serve in Franklin County, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Pete. That comes with a bit of surprise, but I truly honor your decision, and I understand that you probably are wanting to get on in life and do something in the private sector. So I thank you for your service, and I guess we'll start the process, Keith, on filling that position.
Yeah, that's a surprise to me as well. And on behalf of the county administrator, wish to thank Mr. McInderfer for his service to Franklin County. He will certainly be missed.
Yes. Okay, that moves us down to public comment. Is there anybody on the phone?
I don't have any callers at this time.
Okay, then we move on down to office business, and I believe we have 3 warrants this morning.
Commissioner Peck, do you have those? You,
Respectfully, I'm not the chair pro tem.
I do not have them.
Mr. Chairman, for the benefit of the board, I'll see if I can pull them up quickly and make this happen. Karen, do you have those, Andy? No, never mind, I just found them. Move for approval of fund expenditures in the total amount of $551,836.80 as presented. And note for the record that this is dated 12/29 of 2020, previously approved on an interim basis by the former chair, Commissioner Cook, and now before the board for formal ratification.
Do I hear a second?
I second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Next, we have salary clearing payroll, emergency management payroll. Note that this also was approved on December 29, 2020 by the previous chairman, Commissioner Cook, and is before us today for formal ratification by the full board. This is salary clearing payroll, emergency management payroll in the total amount of $995,585.63.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Continue.
See, that looks like there's two, 995, two. So those are the only ones I'm seeing in the email. There's probably another one here. If you bear with me, I can probably find it online. And this would be no. Karen, is there another warrant for payroll action that we need to take?
there is, for one dated today, in the amount of $123,609.33.
Okay, and was that fund expenditures
Yes.
or payroll?
That's fund expenditures.
Okay. Move for approval of fund expenditures dated today's date in the amount of $123,609.33. Keith, did I recall that number correctly?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Concludes the office business. We are now down to the consent agenda. Keith, is there anybody on the phone at this present time?
There is not.
Okay. Do we have a motion for the consent agenda? We do have 11 items on the consent agenda. Do we have a motion?
I make the motion, we look at them. I have some questions on 9.
So I'll move for approval of the consent agenda, 11 items with discussion.
We got a motion with discussion. Rocky, you said you had a discussion on that. Excuse
Motion
me?
requires a second.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll make the second.
And Rocky, you said you had discussion on item 9.
Yes, I overlooked it. I said I looked over the resolution, but I guess I don't totally understand it, and I don't know if I think we should table it for discussion.
Is the tabling because you don't understand it or you haven't had time to read it? Well,
I've read it, but it doesn't say what the mileage is or what the payment is, and I don't understand why they are changing the commissioner's allowance and then in the same resolution saying that they're not going to change the prosecutors.
So I think I can provide some information. The statute, if I recall, is 4303.060, and that's the state authority for counties to provide a vehicle to certain elected officials, which would be the 3 commissioners and the prosecuting attorney. And in lieu of that, or instead of that, if a commissioner or prosecuting attorney chooses to use their own vehicle, then they can be reimbursed for that. And the law requires that the county calculate the cost of providing a vehicle, and then the monthly stipend has to be 99% or less of that amount. So if it costs the county X number of dollars a year to provide a vehicle, then the commissioners and the prosecutor may have a county vehicle or may be reimbursed at a rate that is not equal to or greater than the county's cost, meaning it has to be even a percentage point less than the county cost. Doesn't say 50% of the county's cost or 99%. Historically, for the last decade plus, it has been 99% of what it costs the county, so that it complies with the law. It doesn't cost the county more than it would for the county to provide a vehicle. In this case, a dollar amount has been set for the commissioners, and for the prosecutor's vehicle, it's 99% of the cost of the county providing a vehicle. If you do the math on the 99%, it is different than the $300 a month for the commissioners. Why we handled the two differently, I cannot answer. I wasn't. I just can't answer. I don't recall why. This went back to last fall. I guess I was under the impression they were all being handled the same. But that's a value judgment. I don't want to suggest what's right or what's wrong for anybody else. I just have my own view. So that's it. You can have a county vehicle. You can have a stipend, a monthly stipend. It has to be 99% or less of what it costs the county to provide a vehicle.
So Keith, we have an issue here because we have a prosecuting attorney vehicle allowance that is different from the commissioners, which is being brought up. What does the statute say on this? And if you don't have it in front of you, then maybe it is that we redo the motion and hold these two items for further consideration. I know that items 8 and 9 are to make the commissioners and the prosecuting attorney whole on travel, meaning that what they have in cost that they will be reimbursed for. And in no way is this to enhance anyone's salary. If we were to get $300 a month, I believe that it should be written into that statute that the $300 a month would add up to $3,600 a year, and customary to other businesses that you would use that money first before you were awarded any other reimbursement for travel. So if the prosecuting attorney wanted to stay where he was at, then he would add that up by 12 months and do the same. And all we're trying to do is make sure that we are made whole and that the public has transparency in how we are awarded this wholeness in our travels. So I think this is something that maybe we better redo the motion, cancel the motion, redo the motion, pull these for further review with further discussion.
Yeah, if I may, Mr.
So
Chairman.
Keith, I'd like to speak to that before you respond. I understand the explanation that Commissioner Didier just provided. I would note that I don't believe that that is consistent with state law. And should the matter be handled differently than state law, certainly commissioners and the prosecutor would have the opportunity to simply declare that they will be happy to receive a county vehicle, as Benton County commissioners and a number of other commissioners in other counties do. And that's authorized, I understand it, under the statute. So this discussion and this process presents an opportunity for us to do this at lower cost to the county. But if there is a desire to rewrite the rules and add additional stipulations that additional travel is not compensated until you reach some point, that clearly has a different implication for people who serve, myself included, on numerous state boards and will have a lot more travel than others. So if that's the intent and the direction, then we can regroup and we can renew this discussion that we had last fall, and I'll simply request a county vehicle.
Mr. Chairman,
Probably best to go back and study the statutes before we start making any hard decisions here.
Mr. Chairman, it sounds like the prosecuting attorney has a comment
Yes.
to weigh in on.
Yes, go ahead, Sean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to advise the board, I'm very cognizant of the cost that is involved, and I have reached out to the Public Works Director in the past, because what has been an issue is the need for having a vehicle that has been appropriately marked with safety lights. Like if I go up to a homicide scene on the freeway, which I have had to do several times, having a vehicle that is properly equipped with emergency lights would be very beneficial. But after those many conversations with Public Works and the cost of the burden to the county to issue a new vehicle to myself, that cost was much greater than the rental apportionment cost, the stipend essentially that is provided each month for the personal use for around town. So even though it would serve perhaps a greater public safety interest to have a properly marked vehicle that could be used while on scene at homicide or on scene of fatality traffic accidents that are being investigated at vehicular homicide, I have deferred to the rental allowance because of the cost savings to the county. If the county provides a vehicle, in addition to providing all the maintenance costs and fuel for the use of that vehicle, the county also has to reserve a certain portion each month for the purchase of a replacement vehicle. And I was provided information that suggests that that cost would be a pretty significant increase to the county budget, especially with the initial outlay and purchase of a county vehicle. But I would certainly defer to the board if the board would prefer that a county vehicle be issued for use with official duties and travel as needed, as well as call outs in response to my specific job performance, as I do go out to almost every homicide scene and every suspected vehicular fatality where criminal charges may arise. I would certainly welcome that, but I have held off on that because of the cost savings to the county. But I would certainly defer discussion, and I think it would probably be good to discuss probably with our Public Works Director as well, just to have that additional input if the board wants that further discussion on cost savings. Thank you.
Okay, Sean, can I ask you a question then? Do you have those current lights on your private vehicle?
I do not, and that's one of the concerns that I've had, but because of the cost increase to the county to purchase a new vehicle that would be equipped with that, I have held off on that, but I would certainly welcome that, but I'm trying to be a good steward of those resources.
The other thing that I have here is in question is the fact that for the last 10 months, we have been telephonically on everything, all the meetings, which has sort of stymied the travel, and yet we're still being compensated for it. So I'm concerned of the fact that we're just enhancing salary increase instead of compensating for travel. So I'm looking as to try to be the keeper of the taxpayer money and the fact that we're utilizing it properly.
And I certainly welcome that. Unfortunately, crime for us has not slowed down. We're up to about 464 current criminal matters right now, where usually in most years we're below 300. So I recognize that concern, and I certainly have had a reduction in travel, but that reduction in travel has also saved the county money because as the current resolution and previous resolution state, any personal use, all the local travel that I have, whether I'm driving up to Connell or Colotis or across the river to Benton County, all of that mileage is covered under the travel allowance. I don't get any additional compensation unless I travel to Olympia or other places across the state. And then I would be eligible for reimbursement for the 50 miles, or I should say 100 miles, because it includes the round trip mileage out of town. So essentially, I would not be compensated for 100 miles of travel to Olympia, but I would still be reimbursed approximately for 300 miles of travel. So that has reduced, and that has actually produced a cost savings to the county as well as reflected in our 2020 budget of remaining funds under our travel budget. So I appreciate that question, and I just wanted to highlight the provision in terms of the travel budget does include that 100-mile round trip radius of travel away from the courthouse. So I just wanted the board to be aware of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sean. I have questions on items 7 and 10.
Commissioner, before we jump to those, can I interject a little bit more insight on items 8 and 9?
Absolutely. Help you.
Thank you. Yeah, part of this, perhaps per Commissioner Mullins' help, was we historically had the commissioners and the prosecuting attorney under the same policy and the same resolution for these vehicle allowances. But you will recall that during our budget discussions in the fall, the commissioners agreed that perhaps because of the COVID, this discussion that you've just been having, and the needs of the prosecuting attorney's office, we needed to separate those and reduce the commissioner amount for 2021. So a lot of this discussion was held in the context of budgets, and that's what we approved in the upcoming, or the 2021 budget is consistent with these resolutions that are before you today. So I would just remind us that this discussion certainly can continue, but the resolutions that are before you were a result of those discussions that we had during the budget about the need to reduce the commissioner's vehicle allowance, but to maintain the allowance for the prosecuting attorney at the current level. So I just wanted to throw that in as a bit of additional information for you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is Commissioner Mullen. Thank you, Keith, for clarifying that. It's just hard to understand a resolution when there's no backing of what is actually taken into effect and why. I mean, I surely don't expect anybody to put all the wear and tear on their personal vehicle and not be compensated for it. So thank you for making that clarification.
Thank you, Commissioner Mullen. On item 7, and we may have to have a new motion on this. On item 7, I'd like to ask Derek that we have a contract here with Northwest Code Professionals. Derek, are you on the line?
Yes, sir, I am.
This company is located in Eugene, Oregon, and it's actually taking care of all the permitting guidelines as far as what's been put out there in Franklin County. Is this correct?
No. What originally back in 2016, there was a firm called the Building Department. They merged with this group out of Eugene. They've now formed this Northwest Code Professionals group. And what they do is there are fill-in, on-call building inspectors primarily. What we have before us is a little different than the original version. That was an hourly rate with a not to exceed cap and some various things like that. This one is a pretty standard building planning consultant firm agreement where it's basically get everything covered. But really, the only services that we use from them is the building inspections on call when we've got so many building inspections scheduled, we just can't fit them in with the number of staff we have. So that's the primary purpose. It's just that they formulated in this version, it's a full service contract where if we had a need for these additional services, we could call on them. When that happens, it's basically, they take 80% of what we charge. So it would just come out of the fee that the applicant is paying. They would take 80, but that's only if they did full service, the whole thing. Well, what we use, like I said, I can't say that we've never used them for anything else, just because I don't like the term never, but it's almost always, since I've been here, it's always been for building inspection.
Okay. Now, I noticed that this was signed back in 2016, and this was after the release of Jared McPherson. What did they have in place prior to this? Did we have any consultation with another company as far as getting help, or did we cover everything ourselves at that time?
Prior to the building, my understanding is that was the first due to, just that we were doing it all before, but we didn't have the building boom that we have now back then. So my understanding is with the increase in building that started to occur around 2015, 2016, that is when we reached out to the building department, which was, there's really only a couple firms in the whole state or in the whole region that do this type of work. Most of them are out on the west side. And like I said, originally these guys were a Tri-City, or at least close to this area. They just merged with this other company, and that's where their base is now.
So do they still currently have an office here in the Tri-Cities?
Yeah, we have staff here that operates here.
Okay. All right. Because it just says on the back page, Eugene, Oregon, and I'm wondering if they were traveling all the way from there to here, or what was transpiring here.
No, they are local inspectors. But they also, do inspections in Benton County, and other jurisdictions in the I would assume Walla Walla as well, but I just don't know for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that clarification. And then on item 10, the resolution for the legislative representative Potts Kennedy contract. This is $5,400 a year. I'm just asking if the consent of the board, if they feel we're getting our money's worth out of this, because it seems like every time we have them on the phone, all it is bad news of the bills that are being put forth over in Olympia. And I'm wondering if we're getting any bang out of our buck for this $5,400 a year that we're investing in these Potts Kennedy contract. Is there anybody who'd like to weigh in on that?
Commissioner, I will just say that this is not a formal lobbying agreement. The county does not have a lobbying effort in Olympia. This is more of a function of being able to attend committee meetings on hearings related to bills in the legislature and to keep us updated on those things that would have an impact on Franklin County. I just don't want us to confuse that with an idea that they are advocating specifically for a Franklin County position with individual legislators.
So I would offer this
Commissioner Peck, having worked with them for a number of years and having not lobbied, but communicated directly face-to-face with numerous legislators through the Washington State Association of Counties Legislative Steering Committee, I will tell you that it's my view that you really almost can't have too many vehicles for communicating the county's interests, concerns to state legislators. They are bombarded with information, and they hear information from WASAC, they hear it from individual commissioners who call them, and they hear it from Mr. Potts and Mr. Kennedy. Given the real world costs of actual registered lobbyists, lobbying activities, this is an extremely economical approach where this group represents the interests of several counties, and I view their productivity as largely being eyes and ears, providing information, things that we likely have not heard because we're not physically present. And also when we make specific asks of them to go research a particular bill or issue or legislative approach, they're available to do that. So I understand the question. I think it's a reasonable question, but I think in the world of lobbying, this is probably pretty good value.
Okay, so we got a motion and a second on 11 items on the consent agenda. If, Rocky, for your clarification, if we so choose to want to pull a couple, we will have to vote this down and then reapply a motion. So we have 11 items on the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, with that, we have the passage of the consent agenda. Next on the,
Commissioner Didier, just for the benefit of the board, the process we just did was entirely proper. There is another option in that circumstance, and I'm sharing this for the benefit of a brand new commissioner who's in his first meeting, and that would simply have been because I made the original motion. Commissioner Mullen could have made a motion to amend, and that would simply be to remove item A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, whatever, and we'd vote on that. They'd be removed, and then we could vote on the balance. So just for the benefit of a new commissioner, nothing more.
thank you very much. Next on the agenda is the administration office business. Keith, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. I have a couple of brief items, Mr. Chairman. First of all is the levy certification letters that we're required by state law to submit to a copy to the assessor for the 2021 levy certifications. The Franklin County Road Department regular levy in the amount of $3,702,679, and the current expense levy for 2021 in the amount of $10,288,697. And so I just need consensus from the board to sign those letters and send them to the assessor.
We've been asked for consent. Is there consent of the board?
No objection.
Commissioner Mullen?
Commissioner Mullen, did we lose you?
Oh, sorry. No objection.
Okay, Keith, you have your consensus?
Yes, I do. Thank you. The other item is just for your information. I just received notice that our bond refinancing that we have been working on over the fall successfully closed this morning. And it has resulted in a little bit of a better interest rate than we had expected, and interest cost savings in excess of $80,000 a year. So we're pleased with the work that DA Davidson and the bond counsel did, and the work of the treasurer's office to get that done. So that's all I just had today. Thank you.
All righty, Keith, and with that, I'd like to open this up for the commissioners. If you have anything to comment on, I do. I would like to give you first opportunity as to what may be happening in our area, our county.
This is Commissioner Peck. I'll defer for now. Look forward to hearing what issues you want to bring up.
Commissioner Mullen, you have anything you want to add?
Not at this moment.
Oh, okay, well, last night I attended virtual the city council meeting. In that city council meeting, it was brought up item 10C, 20-28-14, which was December 7th. The governor has now allowed in person, if desired, the ability for these meetings to be open and transparent to the public with some or all the council can attend. Also that we could have people attend as long as there was social distancing. And I therefore will be looking forward to being in the chamber next week as the chairman, and would invite both commissioners, because we could social distance, and we now conduct our meetings live in the chamber for Franklin County. And I would like to ask our prosecuting attorney, Sean Sant, if he has reviewed this also, because the attorney, Eric Ferguson, for the city presented last night on this and made this statement that this was passed or signed by the governor.
And before
Thank
we
you,
go
Chairman.
to prosecuting
Thank you,
attorney,
Chairman Didier.
Commissioner Peck, Sean?
I'll defer. I didn't know if commissioners had other comments.
Yeah. I just want
Commissioner
to make
Peck,
a-
please continue.
I just want to make an observation, and I suspect that our prosecutor will speak to this. I don't know, but I'd like him to, as to whether or not there's any conditions placed upon that. My understanding is that, among other things, that the participants would be required to wear masks, and people who have exemptions of one kind or another for not wearing a mask would have to participate remotely. So I think there's, if I remember right from what I read, I think there's a number of stipulations. So I just want to make sure that our prosecutor has that in mind to address in case my memory is correct. Thanks.
Thank you, Chairman Didier. I was also listening to the meeting as well. And as I recall, what was brought up is that while there is reference to the earlier declaration that was, proclamation that was made, it basically brought in line public meetings or all meetings that would be subject to the Open Meetings Act, commonly referred to as PMA. It basically brought the regulations or restrictions on open meetings to be consistent with business meetings. Now, business meetings are allowed under a phase 3 approach. We are not yet in that position, and because business meetings are not allowed under the current proclamation, it is anticipated that is possible as early as next week. But I think also there was a continuation of the proclamation for an additional week. So I don't think we're actually looking until January 18th of being able to actually implement having meetings in person. Again, those meetings to be allowed, business meetings would also have to be allowed, because essentially the open meetings are consistent with the restrictions of having open business meetings. And right now, the same restrictions on having up to 5 members outside of your household, those restrictions are still in place. There has been changes to church services, where the governor has changed the restriction for church meetings to simply a guidance in light of U.S. Supreme Court decision that basically said you could not overly restrict religious practices. The governor has still recommended that we follow that in church services. But other meetings, such as business meetings or OPMA meetings, have not yet been fully allowed under the current proclamation, but may very well be open in the near future with certain guidelines. And as was referenced, those guidelines would include that all attendees would have to be following the masking requirements, social distancing, as I believe our board set out. We spaced the chairs appropriately, and I think we calculated the spacing in our current commissioner meeting room to accommodate up to 8 individuals. Maybe it was between 6 and 8 individuals. We still have to provide remote participation for any participant that would like to participate in the meeting remotely. So we would have to continue operating as we do now, where people could call in and have an equal opportunity to voice their concerns, just as if they were in person attending the meeting. As I recall, the city of Pasco basically took all of that guidance and they deferred to their city attorney to formulate a recommendation of how to implement and balance the rights of those to attend, as well as to comply with the current statement's proclamations and what was allowed. I will reach out to them as well after this phone call to make sure that they are understanding the same proclamations that we do. I'm certainly open for it. I know that there was a recent proclamation that was not addressed at last night's meeting, and that was the one I believe dated on December 30th, where there was an extension from January 4th to January 11th. So we will certainly be looking at it, and as soon as I see those changes allow for us, I will consult with Keith Johnson and provide him some guidance on how we can initiate that. I know that's been a big issue for the board, and I certainly want to look forward to implementing that in a safe manner and getting those public meetings in place as soon as they are lawful, and that we can do so in compliance with the other requirements of the statute or the proclamation that would allow for those open and public meetings to take place in person. But right now, the restrictions on business meetings apply to our meetings as well. So we will be watching this closely, and I will certainly keep the board apprised as soon as we can implement that and provide some recommendations to Mr. Johnson so that he can share those recommendations with the commissioners. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Sean. I also noticed that the chairman for the city council, Mr. Martinez, was in the chamber. And when you look back on all the other meetings, he's been in the chamber every time. As chairman, I will be attending the meeting next week in the chamber. And I asked Sean that you please give me written on this issue. Please write your legal opinion and distribute it to the 3 commissioners as well as Keith Johnson. And I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So with that, there is also, Keith, on next week's agenda, I'd like to propose that we review a ordinance that has been put forth by 6 legislative electeds from the state of Washington, 10 local electeds, and a whole bunch of businesses. This ordinance is not opening Franklin County up for business. What it is doing, it is stating the fact that as commissioners of our counties, if they so choose to risk an open, we will watch their back. And it basically, it was written by Pete Serrano, and I think Pete did an excellent job on it. What it does is protect these businesses from the fact that if we have an outside department, that we first have credentials from the person, that they are truly with the department and who they are. Second, that they notify our sheriff that they are coming into our county to issue a fine. Third, they have had to have within 48 hours, a test for COVID or an immunization shot. And 5, they've got to deliver it by hand so that we protect our businesses from being contaminated from somebody from the west side coming into our county. This is a means to protect our county from the west side when they are coming in to enforce the proclamations of the governor. So I will have that for you, Keith, and you can make copies of it and give it to the other commissioners so we can review it and make a decision on that next week.
Okay, glad to do that.
Is
Commissioner,
that going to be submitted to our office for legal review, Chairman Didier?
Yes, excuse me, and also to the prosecuting attorney's office, please, yes, we need to, please give that to Sean and Jennifer so they can review it.
Certainly. will.
Okay, so,
Mr. Johnson, if you would pass that to the other commissioners as well. I didn't hear if we were
Absolutely.
included on that list.
yes, you're included. I had the commissioners, Keith Johnson, and I just forgot to mention the prosecuting attorney. So with that,
Commissioner, before
is
you,
there anything else for
Yes.
discussion?
thank you. I apologize. Under my request for consensus on those letters, there was a third portion to that letter that I needed to include. It's a letter regarding all the junior taxing districts, such as the cemetery districts, the cities, school districts, fire districts, disease and pest control, those smaller districts, in various amounts depending on their certification from the district. But it's a acknowledgement letter signed by the chairman for those junior taxing districts. I just want to make sure that you're okay with including that.
Okay. Yep.
No objection.
That's all I had, and thank you.
Commissioner Didier, I think you want to make sure that there is consensus of the board on those additional taxing districts that were just named to keep us legal, because the previous request for consensus didn't address those. And so I have no objection to them being added to the previous consensus, and we'd need one other commissioner to do that, I think, to be legal.
Do we have consensus with that, Mr. Mullen, Commissioner Mullen?
Yes.
Okay, so we have consensus on the addition. With that, is there any other business? Public comment, anybody on the phone, Keith?
No, sir?
This is Matt Beaton, the county auditor.
Go ahead, Matt.
I had a question I guess from the public comment. There was an RCW that was cited related to the vehicle reimbursement. I'm not sure if that was Keith, if you had that RCW, or which person was putting that forward, but I didn't catch it. I was curious what it was.
I believe that was Commissioner Peck, but my recollection was RCW 43.
Yeah, it's in the 43 series. I don't have it on my computer now, but it's in the lower portion of 43, so probably 43, somewhere between 2 and 7. 2 and 7.
I believe the reference was RCW 43.03.060. Thank you.
Sounds about right.
Yep, that's what I heard.
That was all I had.
Okay. With that, our meeting is adjourned.